One other person I'd like you to hear from, Ruby Mayeda, is also a passion test facilitator. You know, we've trained about 800, how many? 800 passion test facilitators around the world in 28 different countries. And Ruby is a full-time passion test facilitator. She has her own passion test practice. And Ruby, would you share with everyone what your experience was in where you came from, and then what your experience was in going through the certification and what's come as a result?
Well, I spent 20 years in the insurance and financial services industry, and I never thought that I would ever really leave. It just had not ever occurred to me because I had built what we would consider to be outward success. I was representing a great company, had a lot of security, I was making great money, and really enjoyed working with my clients. But in my about 18th year, I had a wake-up call, literally and figuratively. I got a call in the middle of the night, and my office was in a bank building, and the manager there said, "Ruby, you need to really come down here because there's a lot of damage." You see, a drunk driver had run through there. And when I arrived at my office, I saw that, oh my gosh, 98% of what I had there had been destroyed. And then I realized, gosh, if I had been here, I would have died. And the next thing that ran through my mind just was, have you ever really lived? So I thought, well, I've been so busy taking care of everybody else, just have become a workaholic, quite frankly, that the very thing we should ask ourselves every single day, am I really living? I didn't take the time. So as I began to contemplate that question, am I really living? Well, many more things went on, but this becomes a long story. But I just started to really pay attention to what was going on in my life and realized that I had fallen asleep at the wheel of my own life. So at the end of my 20th year, I decided to leave. And I just knew that I was kind of headed a certain direction to really help other people. Because at that time, the books, Now Discover Your Strengths, Go Put Your Strengths to Work, all of that was coming out. And when I was driving to work every day, I was thinking, this is so interesting. I wish I had more time to really delve into this. But you know, I didn't at the time. So I knew I was headed this direction. And so I became a member of the Denver Coach Federation, and they brought Janet Atwood to town. I'd never heard of the passion test. I had never heard of Janet, but I thought, this sounds really interesting. Well, you know, synchronicity is always working, and there are never any accidents. So I happened to sit next, but I hadn't decided to sign up for this because in Denver we get many interesting speakers coming through many great events. But I happened to sit next to this person at an event, never met him before, and somehow Janet's name came up, and he said, well, you're going to go see her, aren't you? And I said, well, I haven't really decided. And he said, you really need to go see her. She's really good. So I paid attention, and I went there. And within about 10 minutes, just like you, we're here today, of this workshop, she had us do an exercise, and I stood up, and I tell people now that it's almost like you could open up my body, my little cells were just vibrating so fast, and for some of you may have felt that here too. And so at the end of this, I thought, and I wondered, what is going on? I just have not felt this excited in a very long time. So at the end of the workshop, she made an invitation to us to become a facilitator. And I just signed up because I tell my clients, pay attention to those moments when you're really excited about something, when you know, you know. And my friend went with me to this event, the workshop, and we had planned to go to lunch afterward, and she sat and she kind of looked at me strangely, and I said, I know what you're thinking is, don't you want to think it over? But I said, you know, if I don't go for this now, I don't know how it's going to turn out. All I know is that I'm being told that there's something here for me. And I've never looked back. My life has expanded in ways you cannot even begin to imagine. And so for those of you that have felt this something here today, what Chris is saying is the opportunity to really help people step into their power, step into their destiny. There's just no greater feeling than that.
Yeah.